All right, guys, welcome. We are back with more of the Sudamerican Master 4. It's going to be Elite Wolves taking on Infamous. And round 2 of this best of 3 Elite Wolves have a 1-map advantage so far. And Infamous are threatened with being knocked out of the tournament. That's right, this is an elimination that really no one expected to see. But everyone is looking forward to seeing as... Well, I'm not alone tonight. I am being joined by my wonderful co-caster, Android. What do you think about this game number 2 coming up?
Hey, I'm definitely excited to see this game number 2. I want to see what Infamous can bring out because, well, their tried and true fight draft just didn't get off the ground last game, so maybe we're going to see something really unorthodox. The ban so far, Earth Spirit and Gyro. I can understand the Earth Spirit, but Gyro prioritized as an early fighter, someone that scales up to the late game. Infamous are scared of the damage that Elite Wolves can bring.
Yes, I think Infamous need to be really, really mindful to some of the timings that that Elite Wolves have been hitting. I think mindful of the bounty pick that could be coming out here. I mean, that's always something that you've got to be scared of, and Elite Wolves will actually ban it out this round, which is surprising, but also understandable. That leaves Invoker in the pool. That leaves OD, who I guess isn't really first pick anymore, but he's still in the pool. As far as early game picks go, I think Invoker, Vengeful Spirit, Witch Doctor might be the pretty common ones, but we could also see something come out that's pretty left field. I think a Bat Rider still might work its way into a first one, but also the Beastmaster. Not surprising by any means as the first pick to have. Infamous going for a little bit more lane dominance by grabbing this guy.
I like the Beastmaster pick a lot. I think you mentioned the lane dominance and also just the push power, being able to group up with his team, take tier 2 towers at 10 minutes in, just always keep the pressure applied, and also that Primal Roar is going to be fantastic against whatever Elite Wolves have to throw up. So we'll see if Elite Wolves want to go for more of a passive farming strategy or they want to face this challenge head on.
I hope they want to face this challenge head on. I think that would be really fun to watch. And if you're going head on against a Beastmaster, really what you want is one, a strong laner to go with against the boar in the mid lane and knock it down early. So I think a Vengeful Spirit might be a nice one to have just because the damage she can do is really nice to anyone in lane. Also, potentially a Witch Doctor instead could be nice. But as far as mid game goes, you want to try to avoid the heroes that can get isolated easily by the Primal Roar. And that means natural BKB carriers that struggle when they don't have mobility. So typical heroes that you might see get picked up that would hurt greatly would be your Bat Riders, would be your Svens, your Ursas, heroes that need to blink in, accomplish something major, and use mobility to win the fight. And Beastmaster, again, is just super good at knocking them down. Of course, synergy-wise, he could pick up something like an Ursa to go with the Beastmaster. They could try to pick up an Invoker as well, since both of those tend to be really good pushing heroes. But Elite Wolves, they will go for that first pick OD we talked about, one that typically isn't first pick nowadays, and that's just because he will have a point in power in the early game where they can pressure him a lot.
Yeah, OD again just doesn't strike me. I think there should be more priority placed on that Sven, on the Ursa, like you were saying, just because there's a lot that can really get done with those guys. Ven just going to be comboing up with the OD. The reliable stun is always nice. She's always in demand. Could this be an EWO core Venge?
I think, as I mentioned just a little bit ago, I think the Venge would be better placed to go against the Beastmaster. So I think it would be better placed as a support hero, but I could see the core Venge coming out. I don't think I totally like it here because you really need someone like Vengeful Spirit's kind of an awkward core. She's a really good fighting core, but she's only single target and she's very little crowd control. So when you introduce heroes against her, like the Beastmaster, like the Death Prophet now, you need someone who's a little more powerful as a right clicker, as a damage dealer. And I think Vengeful Spirit relies too much on her magical damage in the early game. Now, that is to say, the swap is fantastic at bringing the Death Prophet out of position to maybe find a kill. So it could be a decent one to have as a core just for getting that experience, but I'm not sure if I'd totally be sold on it this game. We'll have to see if they want to do that, though. There's a Death Prophet. We mentioned it gets picked up. I know I never really liked the hero, but I do think it offers a lot for this early game push. I do kind of want to hear your thoughts on it, though.
I think it's going to be phenomenal. I think Death Prophet can easily be beaten in terms of last hits, in terms of maybe even mid lane pressure. But once Death Prophet hits that 6, when she gets Beastmaster by her side, if they want to pick up, well, Chen will be banned out. You could grab an Enchantress for the summons as well, and just kind of charge down, have a petting zoo ready to go, and just lay into towers. I wouldn't put it past Infamous getting a tier 3 by like 10-15 minutes, if that's what they choose to do.
Yeah, a tier 3 by 10-15, that's definitely an achievable goal, especially with Elite Wolves with an Outerworld Devourer. Now, if this is a carry OD, by the way, and I've seen this before, it sometimes happens with a Beastmaster. Beastmaster does nothing. So look to maybe seeing an Evo OD. And the reason I say that is because the orbs, the arcane orbs, they 1 to 2 shot the bear in the early game. So you immediately take that away, as the Beastmaster's primary point of power is that bear. And then the damage you can do to him via the orb himself is incredible. Now, the Mirana gets picked up. That doesn't necessarily push it either to the safe lane or the mid. It just means whichever lane the OD is going to be playing in, the Mirana is constantly going to be ganking. You just throw out Natural Imprisonment, the arrow flies through, and things are just really bad for Infamous, whoever got caught in that Astral Imprisonment. So Elite Wolves, they've kind of got 3 very greedy heroes right now to run together, especially if the Venge and the Mirana are both supports. So one of them might be played as more of a core role, but the Mirana, I think we're definitely sold on the fact that this is probably a roaming Mirana.
Yeah, I was just going to say that if Elite Wolves opt to do that, they really don't have a babysitter. Vengeful Spirit gets most of her work done, not being in lane, rotating to mid, rotating to the off lane, so they're going to miss out on anything, you know, like an Oracle or a Witch Doctor, something that can apply the heal, can keep everyone safe. So it's going to be a little bit of every man for themselves. Now with the Earthshaker pickup, I'm leaning more and more towards either mid or core Vengeful Spirit.
Yeah, this Venge, with that Earthshaker pickup, it means the Venge is going to be play a carried role. And it won't probably be the OD against the Beastmaster lane that I talked about seeing before. So it'll be more of a powerful hero to have in the mid to late game against Beast. That puts the Vengeful Spirit to have to go against the Beast. And I don't know if again, as a support, I'd say she does very well against the Beast. As the core, she might struggle to get the damage off at following up the magic missile, but if they can get a good Earthshaker's Fisher off on the Beast, they should be able to get a decent kill. The one issue is Mirana with the roaming nature is going to mean it's a 2v1, one of which is a melee hero, so Beast should be able to do well in this lane if the Beastmaster plays it right. And Elite Wolves lets him play it right. But Infamous, they grab an Enchantress. They add to this pushing power that they've drafted up. I think maybe they want to go for something like a Witch Doctor to follow up, or a Dazzle, someone that gives them a little bit more sustain. But they will end up opting for the Crystal Maiden. That is the complete opposite that I was thinking. It is mana sustain, so there is sustain in that regard, but the HP sustain from this team really is kind of lacking. I'm wondering who will be the mech carrier.
I mean, you could see it on Beastmaster. I mean, his Necros are a little bit more delayed if he wants to level up to 3.
You don't really go mech on Beastmaster.
I've seen it. It wasn't good. But Crystal Maiden, she's going to be really poor. I was going to say that Infamous might be better off snapping up a Bane to get that impenetrable wall going through, just nightmare up whoever you want and push right past them. But with the CM picked up, I don't know if they have that much wiggle room. I think you need to pick someone big and beefy and just ready to charge at you. Could they get away with something like a position 1 Bristleback?
Bristleback is possible. I think with the Crystal Maiden, you definitely have to think about that one. A Sven's also very possible and could be brutal to have on this Infamous lineup. He's not exactly a pusher, though. So for this last pick, I'm unsure. But what I think it's going to be is a carry that can spam spells and push very well early. No. It's not going to be a Pugna. I can guarantee you right now. 1, it's not going to be a Pugna. 2, if on the off chance it's a Pugna, that is by far, I think, the worst thing that Infamous could do right now.
Oh, let's see a Pugna.
No. I think they might be able to get away with a... Nah, I wouldn't say Spectre. I think a Spectre... she's too much of a carry, and even with an early build, she might struggle to push with the lineup. I don't know. Again, my real kickers here are that it's got to be someone who has a pretty poor mana pool, but also someone who can push very well. So to your credit, Bristleback could be a fantastic pick here, but I'm kind of going through my head. Who could it possibly be?
Yeah, I think they don't necessarily need someone that's going to push towers well. They need someone that's going to be in the front lines. Because with Beastmaster Necros, with his boars, with Death Prophet Exorcism and Enchantress Creeps, the push will take care of itself. They need someone that can live through the damage Elite Wolves are just going to whack on them.
When I say push, I don't just mean push towers. I mean push everything. So being up front, killing the creeps, killing heroes, doesn't. I think they've got towers pretty much locked down. Like, getting someone else who could hit towers is definitely a benefit, but with Nature's Prophet on, I think actually more and more, I think I like the Spectre pick. It's one that you've got to have someone here that can control the Nature's Prophet. Right now, if someone TP's back, killing the Prophet's going to be pretty difficult. So I actually wouldn't be opposed to seeing a Spectre as this last pick. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing anyone that's really global and mobile right now. A Morphling could be decent to have. A Boots of Travel carrier, like a Lycanthrope, would be decent to have, but someone to control the Nature's Prophet would be fantastic here.
The only reason I worry about Spectre is because she does take a decent amount of time to get online, and Infamous are going to be chomping at the bit as soon as Death Prophet hits that 6. So you want someone that's going to be able to fight early, and you don't necessarily want to have to wait for Spectre's first big item.
I think the new way to play Spectre, I would say the new way to play Spectre, I think the way you play Spectre nowadays is not actually following that style. Right now, Spectre just needs to hit 6 and get an Urn of Shadows and Aquila. Like, that's all you need to do to fight in the early game. You don't go all in for that Radiance unless you get like 3 kills in lane and have 2,500 gold at 4 minutes. Like, then you can go for it.
Oh.
What? Oh my god.
Why Crystal Maiden and Anti-Mage on the same team?
Why didn't I think of this? Why didn't I think of this?
I like it a lot. I think it's going to be very successful.
A hero that needs to use his mana, a hero that pushes down creeps well, and a hero that can control the Nature's Prophet. Why did I not think of that? Oh my god.
You're having a little bit of an off day there, Teddy. I like it a lot better.
I am really
than
off my rocker today.
Man, I'm loving Infamous's lineup. I think they're going to get so much done before Elite Wolves hit their power spike. It is going to come down to how much OD can get done. I think if he becomes this absolutely monstrous hero that no one wants to challenge, it's going to get ugly. But aside from that, Infamous have a very decent shot at this.
Yeah, Infamous, I like their draft a lot. And that's just mostly because I like Beastmaster, and my love for the Beastmaster pick kind of outweighs my hate for the Death Prophet pick. But again, now that we see the full lineup, who's the sustain on Infamous? Who's going to be their mech carrier? Who's going to be their guy that means that these pushes just don't stop? Because the Nature's Attendance isn't going to fix things right now.
Yeah, I want to say at first it's going to be every man for themselves. You know, everyone buy some regen, everyone stay safe, and maybe the CM gets it. It could also be the Death Prophet that was like a super old school, like mid-Death Prophet, kind of like an aura bitch kind of thing going on. But I think the Death Prophet wants to focus on other items.
Yeah, the Death Prophet's got to really focus on mobility. And if she wants to go mech Yules, like, she probably could get away with it. I think if they're putting all their eggs in the early game basket, then it could be a viable build. But that relies so much on her being able to just straight up win the lane, or at least break even, which is tough enough against an OD. Really tough when I think E-Wolves have the better ganking lineup. Like, we talked about, the Mirana is all OD needs to come and gank the lane, and Mirana can pretty much just sit in that mid lane and help her hit arrows and win everything. So, yeah, I think the aggressive lineup from E-Wolves is going to put a little bit of a damper on Infamous's mid lane at the very least, and that could have hurt if they're really looking to get those big early sustain items that would help them push 15, 20 minutes in.
Alright, so we're gonna have Anti-Mage and Enchantress having some fun here with the Trance, and while Stand-in Blank, he only has Fairy Fires for regen, so he's gonna be playing a little bit of a risky game. There's already gonna be a nice smoke rotation from M-God and Masoku. We'll see what they're gonna get done. There's gonna be an Astral mid lane.
Yep, there it is.
Try to set up. There's the arrow coming through, perfectly timed. Oh lord, Death Prophet just getting railed on. There is gonna be a Frostbite coming through, but with the Fissure, it's enough to secure the first blood. Outworld Devourer getting off to that good start we talked about.
I mean, I gotta say, like, I called it. Like, I knew exactly.
You totally
everyone
called
it. Like, I can't really take credit for that because it's kind of obvious, but that happens any time that Astral Imprisonment gets off. And with a spell that has such a good range that can pretty much catch you from on the opposite side of the river, right? Like, that's just going to happen. And every single time he gets Astraled, you can tell his heart is going to jump out of his chest. As surprising kill, Anti-Mage gets the kill on Nature's Prophet. I was just about to go to the bottom lane and say how good of a lane this was going to be for the Prophet. And I think you can kind of see why I was going in that direction, because the Treant spam is really good at harassing, but that shouldn't happen. The Prophet should not die to this lane. And because he did, that's really tough, because Kataru is now going to be able to buy some early regen coming from the Ring of Regen or the Ring of Health, and then it just gets impossible for Nature's Prophet to win that lane. So Fissure out, arrow to follow up, but the Fissure arrow is a whole lot less reliable, and Masoku not quite calling the stun time. Now he will move forward, and the rotation from Z is actually going to come through and maybe secure the kill. In fact, it definitely does. They'll get on to MST Co.
No.
Of course, he DCs. Yeah, that might probably not a rage quit, but still not great. He wasn't going to survive there. I think even if he wasn't having lag issues or was having lag issues, the result would have been the same, because the delay was really the arrow, not quite the Fissure there. So kind of an issue, but still, he will come back into this game. Hopefully his issues are fixed, and we'll go through 2-1, Infamous leading the board.
Yeah, I see what you're saying about the Nature's Prophet being a powerhouse down here, but I think that Anti-Mage is going to be perfectly sustainable picking up that Ring of Regen, and Crystal Maiden has that Frostbite leveled up, so she can immediately go in on a Treant or two, securing herself reliable farm every once in a while and not having to dab into Anti-Mage's stash too much. So we'll see what comes of this, but I think Nature's Prophet is really going to feel the burn. It's going to come down to a lot of rotations up top. There is going to be a rotation onto the Beastmaster. Oh no, your boy might fall. Iwo going deep for this one. He might not survive. Takes a couple of tower shots, but now Vengeful Spirit will be A-okay. Does not have a TP. Will get blocked in by creeps. Oh, Venge, you are going to be going down. It is going to be a split kill.
That was a really late rotation. I think if Excel comes into that one a couple seconds earlier, they get double kill. Like, the only thing that really they had to worry about was the Vengeful Spirit diving so far, because the Nature's Prophet, I mean, even though he's got the attack range, it's really all you gotta do is focus him down a little bit and he melts. So they rotate someone in a little earlier, and Greedy, he's got the power. You even see after death just how much control he was able to keep on that. So yeah, it's kind of a shame he goes down, but the return kill makes it sort of worth it. Because, remember, you got to keep in mind, this is an offlane Beastmaster, so him dying isn't the worst thing in the world. His farming speed after death is really good. So, for the moment, I wouldn't worry about Beast at all in this off. In fact, maybe they even get a kill on Iwo. Okay, probably not.
Yeah, they're a little bit scared of Evo here. That level 2 magic missile does a decent amount of chunk damage, 175, which is a good portion of Crystal Maiden's health pool. She is very squishy, having only 1 armor, so she needs to be a little bit careful there. She has the Tranquil Boots ready to fly out to herself. Meanwhile, down bottom, leaving Anti-Mage to defend for himself. In terms of last hits, he's 3rd on the board, surpassing Nature's Prophet, so he's getting what he needs to out of the lane.
He's getting something out of the lane. I wouldn't say he's getting what he needs to. These Treants are still harassing him back at a very disturbing rate.
Oh,
so
really?
He's got to be really careful as, yep, down into, or up into the top lane. We'll see the attempt at a farming from Greedy is going to get punished by M-God's Fissure. And of course, Two's there to follow up. Can they get the damage off though? He'll juke up north, runs forward, but they're able to get it, but it's not going to be enough. They actually come through with the Scream of Terror. 4 rotated for that kill. They're leaving Smash for dead, though, onto the bottom lane now in a lot of trouble. They've got him trying to TP out, but they get the last wipe. Kataru again with the kill. These kills on Nature's Prophet should not be happening. Anti-Mage now 2-0. And even though his last hitting is not the greatest, I think it definitely leaves a lot to be desired. 2 kills is fantastic. Greedy Dope makes his way back up to the top lane, is going to be seen with 4 more rotating in. I mean, Greedy, you're staying true to your name, but there's a point when you just gotta not come back. And,
oh, the question mark.
Yep. It's definitely well-deserved. They've rotated 4 for that kill twice in a row. And they get it both times because you're gonna get it, but that is a lot of commitment for an offlane Beastmaster.
I mean, at least they're locking him down. In terms of levels, he's only sitting at 5, does not have that much-needed Primal Roar yet, so I think that's going to be the reason that Infamous can't get up in your face in fighting, so the longer they delay that roar, the better, but yeah, you mentioned it's a lot of resources for arguably not the most important kill. Now, there are going to be resources rotated here for the anti-mage, if they can get it. Just going to be Masoku going in with a casual arrow, securing some creeps, keeping the tower up for now. They will get the deny.
Yeah.
So preventing Anti-Mage from spiraling a little bit more out of control.
Yeah, and Kotaro, he definitely wanted to blink forward and get that last hit on the tower. You could see he was casting his blink, but realized about a half second through it that, yeah, this is probably not the best idea to blink into this one. But you mentioned the resources being put on the Beastmaster, maybe better put on Kotaro, but the difference between Beastmaster and Anti-Mage is that Beastmaster has no reliable escape. His only unreliable escape is a slow from the boar, but the boar dies immediately from whenever 2 puts a hit on him. And that's kind of why it's easier. Like, the Anti-Mage, you can get the Astral on him and follow up with the arrow. You probably will get the kill, but it's so hard to get that Astral initiation off without a beautiful smoke. So at the moment, I think Kotaro is having a great time getting everything he needs to, and this is going to be trouble for E-Wolves to deal with a snowballing Anti-Mage, but before the 12-minute mark, if they're able to get a gank off, that's going to be huge, and it looks like they're going to try for it. Masoku walking around the bend, looking for Kotaro, who will turn around, just get some damage off, and maybe find a follow-up kill, but is worried about the counter initiation that Elite Wolves have behind.
Yeah, Anti-Mage going through clear in the jungle will allow his lane to get sacked a little bit, and I don't think the Radiant are really going to fully commit to this, although maybe they will, as Greedy hops down in using that teleport scroll, and, well, Masoku is sub-half health. That could be a nice target to go, and they do have the Primal Roar available.
Roar is available, but the range is still not that great. I mean, they've got to really get up close and personal to be able to do anything with it, and that's kind of tough against the Elite Wolves draft. And right now, even where the lane's positioned, they need to really focus on getting either a smoke gank or whatnot to get that kill, and looks like they will smoke in. They make their way through the bottom portion of the river, across, and now onto E-Wolves territory. They've got the bird to scout out. They find Ewo, but that's not the greatest kill for them to get, especially considering they've got the Astral to save him. They aren't even able to get the roar off. Finally, he tries for it, but the Fisher, the chain stun from the Enchant Totem, although soars, and they've got the Soul Siphon. Now Ewo being chased down. However, all the creeps and everything is just hurting him so much. 2 now getting body blocked by Z. Gets a little bit of damage off, but 2 is still sustaining all the way through it. He might survive. The Crypt Swarm coming through will secure that kill, though. Ewo's too low to counter-initiate. They get the urn off. Z forcing him back, saying, this isn't your territory anymore. This is mine. Though now he's on the run in between the tier 1 and the tier 2. The arrow misses. The Fairy Fire getting popped, but it's not going to be enough damage. There is going to be the Mana Void. Kotaro coming in way after the fact and gets himself a kill. As also Masoku drops down. Infamous now are controlling the fights. They get the Primal Roar off onto Smash, who's running away for his life. The Fairy Fire pop, but the last right click from Sora gets the kill. MST Co. moving in, more rotations. 2's there, looking for some damage, but getting Kotaro is impossible. Greedy, maybe not so much. 2 more Arcane Orbs, they've got the kill. Okay, maybe 3, but the tower hit is enough to get the kill off the back of the first one. So, at the moment, a crazy fight. Who really comes out on top? It looks like Infamous. They turn the game around and now get a sizable experience advantage. Gold, still very close to equilibrium, though.
Yeah, one of the key components of that fight is that Kotaro did not die. He's now 3-0-1 on the Anti-Mage in terms of net worth, sitting comfortably at the top. And, well, Carry Venge is a pretty decent chunk behind. Up top. Oh, there is going to be a nice little sprout there, and the arrow does connect. Oh, Crystal Maiden. She's just going to get ripped to shreds there by the wrath of nature, but honestly, your Crystal Maiden is not the worst thing to go down. It's not your Anti-Mage, it's not your Death Prophet, not the Beastmaster. You're going to be okay.
Still a pickoff, though. Pickoffs are nice pre-10 minutes. It doesn't really matter on who as long as you get them and don't trade them away. I think one thing that I didn't quite point out in the draft, but I think is really interesting to note, they have 3 reliable ways, or I guess 2 reliable and 1 semi-reliable way to set up the arrow. The Astral is 1 reliable, and the Sprout is another. The Semi is the Fisher. We already seen miss before, but it's not that bad if you get the timings down. The Magic Missile's kind of abysmal to set up the arrow, but the swap maybe works. Still, though, having those ways to set up the arrow is huge, and that ends up being a huge problem, I think, for Infamous, as you see the arrow also being great at one-shotting every single one of Z's creeps.
Yeah, that's going to be a consistent pest going through, so we'll see how effective E-Wolves are able to be with that, but like we mentioned before, it's still looking in Infamous's favor right now. Very, very close, and actually they are going to be able to get the kill on the Death Prophet while their ult was still off cooldown, so that's going to be a big success. No more push coming out from the next half a minute.
Alright, I concede. I was so enthralled with the fact that Z decides to go for the Kobold Foreman. I love getting that creep that I ended up missing that kill, and I apologize, but... Still, though, that's kind of funny. She grabs the movement speed creep, and that'll be pretty decent to get these engagements off and control the team fights with your bonus way to maneuver and outmaneuver your enemy. But that kill they got right there on the Death Prophet, that is incredible for E-Wolves to have, and almost turns the tide, I think, of at least the early game. As you can see, Elite Wolves, they've got two of the highest net worth heroes, keeping ahead of Kataru, who's been having a fantastic game so far, playing out of his mind and getting a whole lot of farm. So you keep ahead of this anti-mage, and you're solid. The moment he gets to the top of the net worth, you've got to really focus on controlling him once again. But they're still looking all right. With this Roshan, they'll hold on par with the anti-mage for at least a little bit more time.
Yeah, that's going to be a pretty nicely timed Roche. For 11 minutes. It's actually going down very quickly, and the Aegis will be picked up by the Outworld Devourer. He now has the drums. He's got nice stats with those power treads and the null tally, so let's figure out what they're going to be able to do off of this, or is it just going to be more sit back, passive farm, let the anti-mage do a split push thing?
Just let the AM do a split push thing. You really don't have to fight right now. You've already got a decent advantage. Why squander it? As I will concede right now, Smash is actually OD. Nature's Prophet probably is Van. So I'm going to have to untwist my tongue right here and see if that helps. We have a bit of a sandwich going on inside of Infamous's jungle, as they will catch out Greedy first and foremost. And now Sora trying to turn the fight onto Ewell. The Soul Siphon is hurting. The swap back, though, will bring Sora onto the wrong side of the Fissure. They still get Ewo. That is a fantastic kill pick off onto the Death Prophet. The arrow misses on Excel. That means the Freezing Field going right on through. The Aegis will pop now onto Smash as they'll move forward looking for more kills. But Z is trapped and now caught without a lifeline. The Fissure off the mark, though, so Z's going to try to run away. No Kobold Foreman giving him that movement speed aura, as now he'll turn and try to fight. Gets an impetus off onto Masoku, but now he's trapped. However, the arrow misses again. The Astral will lock Z in one more time and bring her down. But getting the return kill onto Masoku is huge for him in that fight.
I love the Crystal Maiden play there, but ultimately it just wasn't enough to keep the fight going in Infamous's favor. So E-Wolves, they keep their important players alive, and now two able to really get some stuff done here.
Yeah, I really think a lot of that came down to Masoku missing those arrows, and I won't really say it's a bad thing because a lot of those arrows might not have been the greatest to hit. Of course, the arrow through the sprout typically thought as reliable, but sometimes if you walk just off to the side, then yeah, it's not that easy. It's not that easy to predict, but the one on Crystal Maiden is definitely understandable that she missed. She had to guess through the trees where the freezing field was being centered on, and she, a little off the mark, still was the right idea. It just meant that the OD lost his Aegis, and Masoku ended up going down probably because of that as an end result.
Outworld Devourer gets a double damage rune in his bottle. He's going to be hitting like an absolute truck, depending on who his target is. And well, Radiant, they're clumping up in their own jungle. When do they start going in for picks of their own? When do they get that push lineup back online? They start things off with an Exorcism, a Primal Roar. When are they taking a fight at their discretion?
The moment the Anti-Mage gets the Manta style, I think. Like, they can smoke up and try to take weird, awkward fights, but I don't think the Anti-Mage is quite strong enough yet to really be a major player in these fights. I think he definitely needs that Manta style before he ends up really snowballing through him and tearing through the supports and the back lines. And they can try all they want. They can go ahead, they can throw bodies at the towers, they can get pushes off, and hell, they might even be successful. But until that Anti-Mage Manta style, they really can't go all in for a 5-on-5 fight. So
speaking of 5-on-5, we have two 5-man smokes going on at polar opposite ends of the map. Yeah. It's going to be tier 2 pressured and, well, either off lane, and now there's actually going to be pressure onto the tier 3s here as, well, Nature's Prophet, he's got some treants at his disposal. We'll see how much work he's able to get done, because it looks like Radiant do not want to back off.
Yeah, they'll continue going in for this one. It's a tier 3 for a tier 2 if Elite Wolves continue, or Infamous continue this trade. Definitely not viable, so they come back, but this is forcing the issue onto that anti-mage that we talked about. He can't fight, but he needs to. He'll go in and just try to split push for now, and this could work as the tier 3 drops. I think now E-Wolves might be better off backing off, as they don't really want anti-mage to trade off the tier 3, but they still go in now. They find Excel and they bring him down. A couple of swipes to the face are enough, but the Echo Slam now onto Sora. They get that pick off. This is actually going a disaster for Infamous. They really couldn't lose anyone. Just keep split pushing, but now he has to come back, looking for some kills in the back lines, but gets caught out. The arrow connects. They swap him right into the fight. They bring him down. Elite Wolves, once again, around that 16 to 20 minute mark, are just outplaying Infamous. And this time it could be a little bit earlier of a GG if they are able to continue this push, but there are no other tier 2s down, so they really have to back off. This gives Infamous, buys them a little bit of time. And I called out the early GG, the premature GG. I really shouldn't at the moment, as I don't really think Infamous, they straight up lost the game here. But it's going to be a very steep uphill battle from this point forward.
Anti-Mage, Beastmaster, Enchantress, they do not farm well from inside their base. Yeah, they've got nice holds, they've got decent high ground defense, but in the form of ultimates, and you can only cast those once in a blue moon, so it's going to be very, very difficult for Infamous to really get back up, claw themselves back in this game. We see the net worth chart starting to spiral in E-Wolves' favor now with another tier 3 going down, more racks under siege. I don't know if Infamous have the lineup to hold this.
Yeah, and I greatly overestimated the speed at which Kotaro could push down those towers. Again, it's pre-Manta style. I'm not really used to an anti-mage being really forced, and this is 17 minutes in, so it's not bad that he doesn't have it yet, but still a lot of trouble as E-Wolves are not done yet. They move forward, but Infamous, they've got the Exorcism doing a lot of damage to E-Wall in the backlines. They'll bring him down too, dropping very low, but he's got a BKB. Now he's got to run away, but it's going to be very tough for him to get out of this one. Meanwhile, in the backlines, Kotaro is focusing down, but he can't really seem to find a kill. Masoku might be the kill. Back up towards the river. MGod going for the TP out. They have no way to cancel it, but the damage not quite there. So only 2 dead. Smash did end up going down. Masoku, as mentioned, did end up going down as well. So Infamous, they get a couple of kills. Very nice for them to have, as Kotaro now getting very close to having that Manta style completed. Not too bad of a turnaround for the Infamous boys.
3K gold swing fight for Infamous, and I mean, looking at the overall gold chart, it's actually a fairly sizable dip back into Infamous's favor, or at least towards their favor.
Yes.
But I mean, E-Wolves, they don't have long death timers. They're going to be back up and fighting very, very shortly, and there's really no reason why E-Wolves can't continue their siege. Yeah, Infamous showed off what they had, but now Primal Roar down for another 20 seconds. You've got the Death Prophet Exorcism down for another 80 seconds. I think E-Wolves still have what it takes to get in, get another set of racks, and secure their victory.
Yeah, I think the only thing that would really stop their siege would be the Exorcism, which is on cooldown. And again, I keep bringing it up, but that Manta style would also be kind of troublesome to have to go up against. So in the next minute, they can just go and siege again. But if they can't really get anything for it in that minute's time, then maybe things start looking a little bit sour for them. And lucky for them, Roshan will come up fairly soon, not within that minute time, but still all right. We'll have to see exactly what the randomized timers are going to end up being, but they're going to go in for that siege as talked about, and we'll see the initiation from Van onto Z. The arrow does connect as expected, so this is going to be a 4v5 now for the rest of what I think could be the game. They'll make their move, no buyback. Actually, now we just get buyback, so take all that back. She will come back into the game. The racks are being pushed, as the only scouting bird from Infamous has now been brought down. The racks taking so much damage. It looks like we'll have Z moving forward, gets orchided up, so can't really make all that much of a play on E-Wolves, and they'll commit murder. They get their melee racks, and they back off.
Well, what's he looking to do here? He's trying to go in. They will end up getting down, well, maybe getting down the Fury, and it looks like they are able to secure the kill. A lot of resources committed for that one. It's necessary. The melee racks is down, and I guess Infamous have to push out as much as they can right now. Moonlight Shadow will expire. There's going to be an Astral coming through on the back lines. This is looking really, really gross. E-Wolves have the upper hand. Looks like they're all surrounded. Infamous, I don't know if they can get this done. Nice ultimate by Excel. Might be doing some damage to MGod. MGod is going to take a Soul Siphon right to the back of the head, and MGod might be getting low here. Meanwhile, Excel is 2 hits for the OD. Looks looks like that's going to be a double kill coming out. There will be a killing spree onto the Death Prophet. Doesn't get nuked down by the Sanity's Eclipse just yet. Meanwhile, on the top of the cliff, it looks like Greedy falling back to the fountain, the only survivor right now. The Death Prophet and the Anti-Mage. Anti-Mage wanting nothing to do with this team fight. He just wants his farm.
Yeah. So that was like the last hurrah, I think, for Infamous. They lose that fight. They've got nothing to protect against this push now. The ranged racks will end up going down. I think they can count their blessings because the tier 1 and tier 2 still stand in the bottom lane. And actually it looks like maybe, Van will get brought down by Kataro. So a nice pick off for them to get. But still, that tier 1 drops now. The tier 2 going to fall very shortly. Was that a 750 casual bounty? Yeah, that was a 770 gold casual bounty that he just got. No killing sprees, nothing. And that's only about a 75 to 1,000 net worth disadvantage. So you can tell where this game is at just by the fact that that bounty was so huge. And Roshan will now go down to E-Wolves, which will give him another Aegis and maybe be their next push.
Alright, so this is going to be an Aegis, like you mentioned, going to be very easy to push off of this. The Invis rune will end up going down, so now it's going to be, okay, you've got Death Prophet just jumping in, the Primal Roar chunking down the OD. That's going to be a huge kill. They're going to go for M-God now, and he will fall as well, so it's going to be everyone just demolished right here. E-Wolves, oh no, what have they done?
What happened to the Aegis?
E-Wolf
picked it up. He's still alive. Wait, he went down. Initially, he just went down again. Is this a throw? This could have been a throw. E-Wolves. Okay, not like a 322 throw. I mean like an actual game throw. Like, that was huge that they lost a fight there. They have a couple of buybacks. E-Wolves down for about 30 seconds, but a split push is going on now from Van, taking Z down, or at least getting a lot of damage off, but this is going to have to be an all-out base race as Infamous want to make this one work because their base is getting chunked away. The BKB will end, though. Z going to chase down the Nature's Prophet, who will be now under the guise of Moonlight Shadow. The racks still have not fallen, and just like that, the push is now over. The racks will remain standing barely as the Boar is trying to finish up a little bit of damage, but can't quite do it, and the Siege Creep is not going to operate on Infamous's agenda. So game has not really been thrown just yet. And I think it's very important that those racks stay standing, but also important about how much pressure that Van just put on Infamous's side of the map. That forces them to have to either make a decision to continue to go for this racks or back off. So a huge play there from Van, but also the rest of the E-Wolves holding on to their base. And Infamous, they had a shot, they had a moment at glory, but it will be swept up from underneath their feet.
This is getting interesting here. If we look at the net worth split, you've got Anti-Mage sitting comfortably as the king, but the next three heroes on the list are on E-Wolves, so E-Wolves have got a more steady distribution, but can Anti-Mage get big enough just to carry his whole team on his back?
He's almost there, I think. Like, the Manta style is huge, but at this point, with the amount of power that E-Wolves have, you need him to have one more major item. And
I mean, he's got the 10-second BKB.
Yes, but I think a Basher is definitely necessary for him to stop the OD from doing what he needs to do. He will go in now, though. It looks like they want to try to find Smash. They'll go in for the Roar. You don't need a Basher. They'll swap him back. They get the Mana Void out, but he's got a BKB charge now used, trying to get some damage out. They get a beautiful Fissure off, but they can't follow up. The BKB from Guitarro now will run out right before Smash's own, but Sora has already started to do the deeps, and now Kataru moving forward on to Smash. However, while all this is going on, in comes Van, doing the split push he needs to do. The tier 3, or the tier 4 has gone down. Smash will self-astral, buying a little bit of time, has no buyback to spend. As Excel back in the Ancient will get brought down. They had the Orchid there. Van now has to pop a BKB, will blink away, or TP away. Do they have the damage? They do not. So Infamous, they can't push off this, and this is huge. They just won a major fight, the best they could have possibly hoped for. But still, the split push and then the escape from Van just makes it not worth it, or at least not a victory for them. So Kataru is huge right now. He's doing great. I think, yeah, maybe he still will need that Basher. The Roar wasn't quite enough to lock OD down. But he's got about 1,500 gold, which is looking really good for him. He's got the control they need. He's got the carry potential they need. But it's still a very tough battle for them to end this game.
I mean, kill score is dead even here, so somehow Infamous are finding the picks, and Well, we'll see what's going down here. Beastmaster, he only has Necro once. He opted to go for the Blink Dagger before grabbing up the rest of those levels, so once he gets Necro 3s, that should be fairly nice at countering the Moonlight Shadow, which has been very pesky. Getting that off on Van makes him live just a little bit too long in these fights.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing they need to really focus on. I kind of like, but also kind of dislike what Excel is doing. He's using his freezing field just to burn down creep waves. So while it might be better off spent in a fight, it just means that this Crystal Maiden can also have her impact on pushing out the waves, and they've got to do that. At this point, they have to make sure the waves are pushed out as much as possible, because once E-Wolves come knocking at their gates, if the waves aren't pushed out and things are pushing in other lanes, they can quickly become overrun and lose their Ancient without even being able to defend it. Like, they kill heroes, the creeps bring it down. They kill creeps, the heroes bring it down. So, at the moment, they can't defend their tier 3. The tier 3 will, tier 2 rather, it will go down. Not much to counter out for it. And now the bottom racks are exposed. The split push can come out. The siege can start. One big thing though is that Kataru has finished off his basher. So that's one more point of control that Infamous have.
Moonlight Shadow coming through. Looks like Enchantress will scout it out. She knows it's going down. She's able to force staff herself away, dodging out the arrow as well. So, well, E-Wolves are trying to get the party started, but no one's coming yet.
All right, the swap back now. Sora onto the low ground. A huge kill from the get. He does have buyback and is going to have to spend it. There really is no excuse not to. The bash forward. Lucky bash on a 2. They'll follow up with a roar. He needs to pop his BKB. Then Sprout holds him in. He will get a self-astral, buying him a little bit more time, but I think a BKB TP might be his best call here. He'll instead go and bring down Z. Buys back immediately. Kataru being locked down, but not for very much longer. He'll move forward and then finally get Van down. The pesky Nature's Prophet will hit the deck. Smash in a lot of trouble. He's also down. Both Smash and Van have their buybacks ready to go.
Evo is going to be TPing out, I think, yeah, able to get out, barely living through that Soul Siphon at the last minute, but Infamous are holding. There's no damage to this tier 3 in the bottom lane. Oh man, Kataru wants this so badly. Everyone wants this so badly. And it's not out of Infamous's grasp. We're hitting the late game point now, and Anti-Mage is still really freaking huge.
We're hitting the late game point, Annie. It's 27 and a half minutes into the game.
Yeah, but look at the heroes that have been drafted. They're all focused on early game. So now, as far as Infamous is concerned, they have to transition to late game mode. 2 racks are down. They're throwing everything they have into the fire.
I think, if anything, I'm more calling to mind the absurdity of the amount of action going on right now in the game. It feels like a late game moment. Feels like late game team fights, but it's still mid-game. It's still well within mid-game. I think one of the main cutoffs is 35 at the earliest, but 40 minutes tends to be that late game point, and it just doesn't feel like it right now. It doesn't feel like 28 is that early on, but the amount of pressure, the amount of aggression that has been coming out from these teams in these fights is phenomenal, and it almost makes you wonder, like, how much Infamous want this, because they definitely have a lot of heart and soul going into this game. They're facing elimination. They lose one fight, they're out. They spent so many buybacks in the last fight. It looks like they'll go for it. The Fisher out. Excel, he's down. He actually does have his buyback still. In fact, I'll bring up that graph because it's a little bit more important at the moment. Radiant have 2 buybacks. The Crystal Maiden and the Anti-Mage. Arguably, the Anti-Mage is a little more important, but
A little bit, yeah.
that just means that the Death Prophet, Sora, does not have his buyback. He gets picked off like he did in the last fight. It could very well be over.
Well, for now, you've got Enchantress's dominated creeps trying to clear out the lane, but honestly, all it's going to take is a free moment for the Nature's Prophet to get in there and just release hell. Infamous, they've got to get very careful not to get distracted.
Yeah, pure focus. I mean, at this point, we mentioned how it feels like the late game, but it really isn't. But for all intents and purposes, the amount of decision-making that goes into these fights has to be late-game tier. Like, you cannot make a single mistake. And you have to play as if the enemy is equally strong as you. Because that's kind of how it is right now. We can take a look at the graphs and see that there is advantage for E-Wolves and the gold, but the experience is in favor of Infamous. The teams are, for all intents and purposes, equal in power. Like, any small mistake from either side can cost them a team fight. So at the moment, I feel like decision-making has to be perfect. And it looks like Infamous, they might want to try to force the issue. Next Roshan's going to be coming up in about 2 minutes, but the teams don't know that. They're just waiting for the point when it's up, that the fight around the Roche pit happens, and things start getting hectic.
It's a really tense moment right now. There's going to be a movement of E-Wolf heroes down. The Roshan will be spawning in a little bit under 2 minutes. That's going to be a very key objective that I think E-Wolves have a firm grasp on, because Infamous don't want to step too far away from their Ancient. It's getting low. We'll be regenning back up to full health now, but...
Oh man, perfect from Kitaro. He calls out the movement of Van and gets that pick off. Now, there is a buyback. And the one important thing here is that he's going to come back before the Roche respawns. So there is a kind of split push style where you go into the Roche, you force the other team to come to you in the Roche pit, and then you send your Nature's Prophet to split push and force him back so you can get a free Roche. So he will be back to do that, but it's still a nice pick off for Infamous to get.
Gonna be a rotation out from Infamous, looking to maybe go into the Roshan, but that is leaving their Ancient completely exposed. Yeah, there's backdoor protection, and all the lanes are reasonably pushed out, but as long as Nature's Prophet's dead, I guess Infamous feel a little bit safer.
They feel safe, but not secure. Things can really go south very fast for them, and looks like Infamous are trying to control the area around the pit. They know it's a 4v5, so they can be the aggressors. They can be the belligerents. They know exactly how to play this one when they're a man up. The only issue is Roche isn't up. So this whole thing goes to naught. Nature's Prophet's going to be back, and now things get a little bit more dicey, a little hairy, but Infamous, they've still got the control, they've still got the team fight to make it work. You see immediately Kitaro goes to the top lane. He's kind of predicting that the Nature's Prophet is going to go up there, but also understanding that that would be really stupid for the Prophet to do, so he will just go in and farm it. But keep this lane pushed out as much as possible to open up space for the Roche, who, ding ding, is back.
Alright, now the fight's gonna be on. It will be scouted out first by E-Wolves, and they're gonna want to get their claws into that stone monster as soon as possible, but, well, Infamous, they're actually not playing very scared right now. They may need to focus a little bit more attention on the mid lane, keeping that pushed out so Nature's Prophet can't just get in there and start getting ugly on the Ancient.
Technically, it was Infamous to first scout it out because they had the bird close by, but now they'll lose that vision. In fact, they've got nothing around the pit except for the entry point. They see Masoku run in, so they know that they're there, but the Roshan just dropping too quickly. It's actually already dead. They even commit Van to come in for this one, and now they'll clean up some creeps. They maybe overstay their welcome a little bit. Infamous will move in. They get the Roar now out onto Van, immediately save him with the Astral, though the BKB popped from Smash. He's looking to go in, but he does have that Aegis at the ready. Kitaro, though, on the backlines is brought down one, looking for the Bashful Mana Void to stop Van's TP. He does have a buyback, though. Kitaro now in a little bit deep. Van's down. Smash is very close to dying as well. Ewo also could be dead, but Van, he buys back. He's going in. Kitaro, he can't die. He does die. He buys back, but so too does Sora. There is no buyback on that Death Prophet. However, Kitaro looking in for Van. This kill could be huge. All they need to do, though, is chop down these trees. He can just burst them down, so Van cannot self-sprout. He just has to buy some time, though, for his team to come through. The bash out, or sorry, the Fisher out onto Z will stop him, but Van, he goes down. Kitaro gets the kill. It looks like neither team's going to be able to push off this because of that. 2 down on both. However, Smash is still looking for a fight. M-God's waiting in the wings, looking for when Kitaro ends up going in. The Fisher, perfectly timed. They're looking to lock him down. They can't get this kill, but they might. The magic missile comes through. It's enough stun. They get it. No buyback on your anti-mage, but just as he goes down, Sora's comes back online. Excel will go down. He has no buyback. Sora, though, and Z both can spend it, but what can they do to defend? Sora doesn't have his exorcism at the ready. This is a big trouble. The Ancient dropping half HP. They don't spend it. They just give it up. The Ancient, they will pop the glyph, but Greedy, he is gone and disconnected. A kind of soft GG if I've seen it.
Yeah, I think that was the GG type without the actual GG. And there it is, Infamous. Ooh. They're out of here.
So what do you have to say, Annie, as the game finally coming to a close? Where did it all go wrong for Infamous? I mean, okay, we know where it went wrong, but after they came back, where do you think they could have gone, and what do you think happened to secure the victory for E-Wolves?
I think Infamous didn't exactly play with as much synergy as they needed to. In a lot of the fights, it felt like it was anti-mage versus 3, and then the rest of the team versus 2. It was very split up, and I think if Infamous really wanted to get things done, they would have rotated completely as a group. They would have gone onto targets together rather than splitting the fight across vast differences. In one fight, there was, Anti-Mage going out on the mid lane, everyone else kind of near the Roche pit. So I think Infamous, they needed to be playing off the strength of their Anti-Mage and not letting him have his own game.
Yeah, exactly. So I also would like to add that letting the Roche pick go at such a critical moment was probably one of the bigger mistakes they could have made. I mean, they had a shot. They saw it first. They could have rotated. They were wary about the Nature's Prophet TPN. But they had ways, I think, to control the Nature's Prophet while simultaneously contesting the Roche. But it just came down to, the outplaying. The Death Prophet's or the Nature's Prophet's rotations were beautiful. The way he forced the issue was great. And even though Kataru was playing out of his mind, it just wasn't quite enough. So any final closing thoughts you've got before we sign out?
Oh, well, thank you guys so much for watching here. E-Wolves will be advancing on to the next phase of this tournament, still in the lower bracket, so they are still going to be facing elimination at every turn, but so far they've grinded it out. They're getting through. We could see them in the grand finals here, so again, Ted, thanks so much for having me on.
And thank you. So, so we are going to be closing out. This was a 2-0 for Elite Wolves to take Infamous knocked out of the tournament in the lower bracket round 2. They were one of the favorites coming in. Of course, we had a little bit of rocky starts to the playoff season. You all know why, and maybe they became less of a fan favorite, but still, they have been playing as a very well-conformed and well-organized team, and it's sad to see him go, but it was fun to watch him leave. Elite Wolves, they brought on the pain, they brought on the hurt, and they will be moving forward. So I'll bring up the brackets to show you guys really quickly, insanely quickly. Elite Wolves move on. They're going to be facing Pain Gaming in the next round of the lower bracket. But the next match, I think, will be Lucchini taking on Not Today. I think that's tomorrow. Either that's tomorrow or Pain Gaming versus Elite Wolves. Follow my Twitter to get more information on that. Speaking of following, Annie, where can they find you?
Well, if you enjoyed the casting, feel free to follow me on Twitter at Android, ANNEEDROID. If you're more of a Facebook person, I have a Facebook at facebook.com/AnnieCasts.
All right, and I've got it right here. The next match will actually be the lower bracket match. So yeah, it is going to be Elite Wolves taking on Pain Gaming tomorrow. So follow me on Twitter at TedCast to get more information as that goes on. Guys, thank you so damn much for watching tonight. That is it for the Sudamerican Master 4 for the day. We will catch you all next time.